Hey everyone, Mike here today with Production Line Car Factory Simulation. As you can see by the picture and the subtext, this is a car factory building kind of game. So we'll do a new game here. There are different missions to choose from. The size and the starting money and the layouts can vary a little bit. Also your expansion opportunities, which are kind of the gray squares around. And finally, the scenarios as well, your objectives. Fundamentally, it's going to be the same starting point for each of these maps. You're going to be going through the same process, and depending on what the objectives are, you may lean in one direction more than another, just to complete whatever set objective it is. But yeah, the sandbox mode, you still have to worry about money. You have AI competition as well, making your cars more or less desirable depending what you're doing. And then finally you have two different free play modes with either nothing unlocked or other technology unlocked. So we'll start with this small factory. Ultimately you're not going to see much of a difference between the different modes and whatever map I choose. Alright, so I pause the time. The first thing I want to do, I want to get more money. We have just enough to build a factory, but we need to do a little bit more than just a factory, so we'll go for the biggest loan available, which is actually not much. So, anyways, we'll see what we can do with that. And I'm going to build a couple research offices. So these research offices are going to be kind of useful. We'll be taking advantage of that. Getting some research done. We'll come back to the research, but I want to do air conditioning, so we'll queue up the environmental features and then do AC next. Alright, so we can start building our factory here. We're looking at these blue and green arrows. The blue arrows going out are where cars can get exported. Arrows coming in are where we can import resources. So we'll build a resource importer. Eventually you could start making parts in-house, but for now we can't do that. And then we'll start with a chassis assembly. So each of the steps are listed here logically. These are the steps you have to follow. Eventually when we start researching stuff, we can break them down into smaller steps. And the reason I'm pointing that out is this initial chassis station. It's a 13-minute process. So for one chassis assembly, that means the slowest thing in the production line should not take longer than 13 minutes. Otherwise, that becomes the bottleneck. Now you can see here, fitting axles is a 7-minute process. So if we do the research to split this into multiple steps, well, we can now bring that down to 6 minutes. Or we can even potentially split it in half by having two different axle assemblies. And with them working together, we can definitely bring that number down a little bit more. So there's things like that you can think of, but at least for now, for the tech that we have, features that we're fitting, 13 minutes is kind of our target here. We're not going to be able to do too much better, at least right off the bat. So the next step here is body assembly. It's a 32-minute process. If we do 2 of these, we're still going to be slower than the chassis. So we do need 3 of these body assemblies. Again, the body assembly, like the chassis assembly, can be broken down into 3 parts. Each of these parts can be further broken down as well. And so you get to a point where each of your stages becomes kind of like a 2-minute stage. And that's when you start pumping out a lot of cars. So yeah, paint takes a little bit longer, 34 minutes. That's fine. Engines, 22 minutes. So in theory, we can do 2 of them, right? That's 26 minutes for a chassis. So we'll do 2 engines. I'm going to leave 2 spaces because I'm going to recombine and resplit. At 14 minutes for accessories. This is a tough one because we'll back this up by about a minute. About 15 seconds actually. So we can go about this 2 ways. We can say we'll take the hit and maybe we can speed this stage up, or we can break this stage down into steps. And that's might be actually the better way to go about it, because if we break this stage into steps, we can start getting a lot of other upgrades fairly soon. So maybe we'll take the time penalty here. It'll take a while for everything to get backed up anyways, so we'll take the time penalty now. Now actually I'll bid it up here just to make a little bit of room. So electronics, quality check, and exporting are pretty quick. Fit the electronics here. Since we're going for air conditioning will go up here somewhere afterwards. So before we could do anything else, let's build the conveyors. They just kind of click and hold. The conveyor system can be a little bit problematic, but I like to just click and hold and go through everything just to make sure it connects correctly. You could follow the arrows to make sure it does the right thing, but sometimes it doesn't, so you know, it is what it is. You could just redraw it, and sometimes that's enough to fix it. Yeah, this seems fine. Cool. So yeah, we've built a basic assembly line from start to end. The only thing left here is we got to connect each of these stations. You can see there's little pallets here at each of these stations, and each of these pallets will hold on to a certain amount of resources. And so we have overhead resource conveyors to stock them. I don't know why this thing, like, I mean, I get it. It wants to snap to various drop-off points. So I get why it's doing that, but it is kind of annoying. You could also pass them through like this. This all works. And since I've played this game before, I know what to expect. We'll build a second importer here. And so we can feed these machines from both directions. Because the very first thing we do when we're on pause is we're going to feed the wrong machines, right? We want to start with axles. Actually, this time we fed axles pretty early on, so that's not too bad. You can see, like, this one back here is feeding accessories. Well, you don't need accessories necessarily in terms of, like, the build orders, what makes more sense. Again, that's like a research thing. You can optimize based on production line and ordering and stuff, but at least for now, that's what we're stuck with. It'll just kind of stupidly fill up everything. No particular order or logic or anything like that. And so part of the game is doing all the research, and you slowly expand the amount of stuff you can do. If we take a look here, you know, there are 3 different or 4 different lines of cars depending on price classes. And as you can see right now, all of these features are all very rare in the market. And so we could be a leader here and start introducing some of these features early on. And so that's why I'm going for air conditioning, because this would allow me to beat the competition. Now on the flip side, I can also go more of a tech route and make it cheaper to assemble cars. And actually, having said that, let's hit that mid-range price at 25 grand. The profit won't make too much sense until we actually start selling cars. But yeah, there's always going to be little things, little considerations, different directions you can take the game. And that's the whole point of this whole research stuff. You know, there's different technologies, which are different upgrades you can have. When I talk about breaking down the process, we'll probably show at least one of these off. You know, if the initial chassis step, I can break it down into three instructions. I could further break it down into, you know, multiple steps. Or actually, there we go. Yeah, I could do fitting axles, fuel tank, and undercarriage instead of just the chassis. But then I could further break down the axles into 3 distinct steps, being front, rear, and drive shaft. We can also make stuff in-house after that. So, yeah, the more stuff you make in-house, the cheaper it is. You're not influenced by importing resources or parts, you know, as competitors. As demand increases, maybe for certain components, they may go up in price. So a competitor may introduce it. If you introduce a feature and then competitors start adopting it, then your price might start going up for a little bit because the demand is a bit too much, and then it comes back down because it's widely used. Then if you're building it in-house, you get a lot of bonuses that way. All right, so go straight for that air conditioning. All right, so our first car already sold. I didn't get a chance to see what people are saying about it. So if we slow it down here as our car hits the market, or the showroom rather, takes a little bit for the export here to happen. There you go. So you can see here, very basic features all around. We're selling it as a mid-range vehicle. And as customers start viewing it, we may get some feedback, right? If people don't buy it, they'll say, oh, maybe it's features, maybe they don't want this body style, maybe they don't want, yeah, poor value, different body style, insufficient features. But then the reality is it depends how long it takes to sell. If this car sells fairly quickly, then it doesn't matter. And it's sold already. So we're okay with that. We want some of these cars to sell pretty quickly. And so keeping this 10% profit, that's not too bad. The numbers here kind of give you an idea of what it looks like, right? 22 grand to make it. The average buyer thinks it's worth 16, but we're selling it for 25. Some of these numbers start making a little bit more sense. As we add features, the production costs won't go up much. The market value will go up though. Now we can slightly increase the price if we have stuff that competitors don't have either. And so it kind of works out. Early game, it's a little tough to rely on some of those things. But as you get further and further into the game, you can definitely look at those a little bit more and start accepting them. So yeah, you can see what I mean with the accessories here. We will slowly back up cars. That's fine. Yeah, so our mid-range cars are selling. We probably should build more of them. But yeah, we can't do a whole lot else, at least right now. If we wanted to do different vehicles, we could research them. So for these different body types, we have to have a design studio, which in itself is a whole other administration or yeah, administration, and then we'd have to go to body design to build a design studio. And there's a bunch of advertising and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, once AC is done, we'll try and do one of these specializations. We could probably do chassis, just start at the beginning, and at least split that up a little bit. Actually, no, we'll do accessories. Because accessories allows you to fit the cars with more stuff. Yeah, because we go from fitting lights, horns, seats, windscreen, dashboard. We go from doing all of that in one step to having all of those as their own individual step. And that's important because we can then go back and say, oh, okay, well, maybe we want accessory. Where are the accessories? I don't know, touchscreen interface. There we go. Powered seats would be one. Hearing. Oh yeah, right. The everything is also color coded. Kind of forgot about that. So anything with a blue bar at the top becomes an accessory that you can do. But they do fall under several different things. I can also do the heater and the air conditioner, or yeah, air conditioning, heater, leather interior. The sunroof falls under a body, so I'd have to do that next. But yeah, actually it would make more sense to do the heater afterwards, or maybe the leather seats. Okay, so we've unlocked air conditioning, right? In this particular case, air conditioning is its own stage that we've unlocked. So eventually we'll do lights, horns, seats, windscreen. We'll do them all separate. Because what happens is that, let's say we do leather seats. I can't upgrade this to do leather seats, but the fit seat stage can do leather seats. And so that's why you have to do separate stages eventually. But we'll fit the air conditioning here. We'll loop our conveyor back. We'll go ahead and modify our build sheet here and add air conditioning to this car. So you can see the production cost it doesn't go up much, but the market value for the car immediately leaps forwards. And so it doesn't take very many features for you to be able to increase your price very quickly. So even at 25 grand, once the air conditioning starts coming out, we'll be able to command a much higher price. And so the problem now is that all the cars queued up here so far, all of these cars will all be missing the air conditioning. And so we look here, whenever a car hits the showroom. I have one about to leave. It already sold. Anyways, eventually we'll see cars missing that feature as they're leaving. And so we'll be able to, well, we could do a few things, right? Nobody has air conditioning. We can say, oh, actually, this one already has it. Cool. Okay, sometimes when you do that, they haven't reached the stage. Oh, right, because it's the last stage. Yeah. If I had done that to an earlier stage, some of the cars already on the line would be missing it. So because of that, I can go in here and say, oh no, actually, this car is too cheap now. People are buying it, right? It's not even lasting in the showroom. So you can go, let's try 30 grand. Let's see how long they last, because that's ultimately what you're looking for. Is if cars are sitting in the showroom for a while, then okay. But if they're immediately selling out, that's what we want to do. Yeah, it looks like your car is too cheap. We could probably ask for more than 30. Cool. Yeah, okay. So this is the AI competition. So you can see one AI is fitting it to a luxury car. Now we could try and sell it as a luxury car, but that's not going to happen. We don't have the technology yet to do a luxury car. Even if I wanted to design a new model, well, I can't because I don't have another body style. I could try and charge more. This 30 is clearly not. Clearly selling out anyways. Cool. Alright, so we've got our accessories. What do I want to do next? Here first. Yeah, depending how quickly this sells. We'll see it here. Looking for different body style. Insufficient features. Alright, so we know 35 might be too much for these cars to actually sell. The more people look at them, the more feedback you get. Well, we're still leaning towards body style. But it's not cheap enough to necessarily sway people into buying it. We'll bring the price down. Try 33. But yeah, anyways, that's more or less what happens. There's a little bit of fudging around early on with some of these numbers to try and figure out what works, what doesn't. But eventually you get a hang of it. You know, eventually you start breaking down all of these processes and it starts making a lot more sense. So now because I did the accessory specialization here, instead of this fitting accessories line, I might actually go in and have to do... Actually, let's go look at... Too expensive. Yeah, we kind of figured that out when I wasn't selling. Yeah, instead of this fit accessories line, we can now do individual ones, right? We can fit the lights, fit the horn, fit the seats. Thankfully, almost all of these are nice and square. And then this one has a little bit sticking out too. Yeah, we go from this nice kind of horseshoe-shaped station to now we gotta fit this, 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 this. We already have air conditioning there. We'd have to have a gap like this because it's also an L-shaped one. Yeah, this single stage then becomes all of this. Which is not too bad. We have the room to accommodate that, of course. And then we just route it back around. Actually, yeah, what am I doing? So, this is the unfortunate part, is I actually I lose the car that's there in production. That's fine. Go ahead and move this, move this, move that there temporarily. And since we're gonna have to turn around, might as well put it sideways here. We'll run the conveyor that way. You can see I'm not connecting it. So if I take that one out, there we go. And once we get the, I think it's the heater, right? Heater or the other one I'm researching? Oh, fit controls or fit dashboard. Okay, fit dashboard would be here. Yeah, the heater becomes an option down here. That's kind of how the upgrades go. And yeah, just make sure I have the conveyors. Yeah, good. So everything's still connected. I gotta wait for these stations to refill. Now, because these are quicker steps, you'll see here 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So now what's going to happen is, yeah, where I used to have a backup, cars starting backing up a little bit because this was a 14.5-minute step, while this here is a 13-minute step. So yeah, the entire process was being backed up here slightly. Now you're seeing these cars are just flying through the production. And so this is the same thing that's going to happen to all the previous steps. And so you eventually get to the point where each step is like a 2-minute thing. Yeah, you'll still split up a little bit, but you're not going to have to do it as much. It's just you're going to have to kind of limit or manage a lot of imported or a lot of individual steps. And then yeah, imported parts versus built locally, there's all sorts of money things there. So we've been selling cars, if you haven't noticed. So our pricing is not too bad. But anyways, yeah, we get some nice graphs. So we're waiting on the next vehicle, which is some of the steps. So anyways, we got a heater. We can upgrade all the slots that can fit the heater. And we can also edit our model and include it and apply it. Then we choose our next research project to be leather seats. So will we have a car missing it? Yeah, we have one car missing it. We have another one. Basically any car that was before this step here, when I made the switch, are going to be missing it. And they'll have it. Yep, gotta build more cars. Yeah, well, now we got 2 features. Market value of 20, production costs of 15. As time goes on, some of these prices do go down. So this is good. And eventually we can really bring some of the costs down. But because we have very rare features, we can sell the cars. Despite the market value maybe not being that high. But anyways, we'll end it here. This is a pretty cool game. It's for 25 US or 28.99 Canadian. I'm gonna say it's steep price. The thing that is a little unfortunate if we bail out is that it doesn't really matter which map you choose. They're all kind of the same. You know, yeah, okay, this layout's different. But if you look at the technology side, it's all the same tech tree. Always start at the beginning. You know, your basic car is always going to be the same sedan. Maybe the market analysis comes out differently a little bit. Actually, I'm curious if it does. I feel like the market actually is not different. Oh, yeah, it's the same. So, you know, while there are different scenarios, it's just managing space and budget that changes, really. There's not a fundamental big difference. There are some differences if you actually play the scenario itself, but the mission doesn't really change things too much. So I don't know, it's not too bad. Having said that, the game has hit 75% off, so that does make it really affordable, and that's probably when I picked it up on Steam. And at that price, I think it's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know, it's a factory game. If you like this kind of game, you'll know that, yeah, this one might be worth a look at. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next week with another upload.